Good morning, everyone. So on Friday, I received, and first of all, I want to address something. Um, Back in May, I received a notification from Access Credit Union. It was them threatening to change the locks on my house and um, essentially lock me out of my property. Um, This happened right before a long weekend where they knew that I couldn't do anything about it until the following workday, um, stressing me out the entire long weekend. Now this past Friday, again, prior to another long weekend. Now, long weekends are meant for Canadians to, um, have a reprieve from work, to be able to enjoy themselves, to maintain some sort of family connections, and also to enhance quality of life. But consistently, that has been being denied to me because of the legal attacks by the Manitoba government, by the Canadian government, and by now the City of Winnipeg. Now, it's interesting because I have not been served a statement of claim by Access Credit Union. I have not been served any sort of motions by Access Credit Union or their legal counsel. What I have been served with, and this was through email, given permission by the Land Titles Office from the City of Winnipeg, which I don't think that they have the authority to um, issue permission to serve people via email. That needs to be done through the Manitoba King of Courts bench or the federal government. For the City of Winnipeg to assume that they can circumvent the legal system, that is kind of concerning. And it also speaks to the lack of democracy that exists in Manitoba presently. I mean, we do have legislation, we do have laws, we do have procedures for a reason, and if those procedures are not being followed, well, democracy can't exist because, I mean, the legislation that the leaders of our country put into place and the procedures for that legislation to be followed is also being violated. Um, so I was served an order that was signed by a register at the land titles office, for permission to for Levine Tadman, who is the legal counsel for Access Credit Union, to serve me a state some sort of document saying saying the rights for sale or something for my property at 46 Bramwell. Now it's interesting because this hasn't even gone through court yet. I have not been notified of any sort of hearing. I have not been given any sort of motion. So for the land titles office to be doing this, this is actually uh, this is actually breaching um, my Bill of Rights under Section 1, where all Canadians have the right to prop um how does it word it? I'll address that in another video. But um I just wanted to also note that I did put in uh um a complaint with the Human Rights Commission, and this also will be being addressed in another video as well. The the complaint is against Access Credit Union, and it's interesting because the Human Rights Commission, they said, well, it has to fall under the Manitoba Human Rights Code. Um, and I thought, okay, well, that's kind of interesting because the Manitoba Human Rights Commission is an offset of the Canadian Human Rights Commission. And the Canadian Human Rights Commission, um, I mean, they regulate rights in Canada, from my understanding. And if if the only document that the Canadian Human Rights Commission is concerned with is um is the act stating, like, the Manitoba Human Rights Code, what happens when people who are making too much, well, no. What happens when somebody's Bill of Rights is being violated? Now, for myself, I don't make enough for to hire a lawyer right now, which is kind of why I'm in this situation. So the the order that Justice Thompson signed on October 25th, 2022, indicated that my income was to be inputted, and as such, I was to pay X number of dollars. And it's interesting because he stated in that order a certain dollar amount. So if my income goes down, it doesn't matter. I still have to pay that, right? My issue with that is, well, okay, now that that's financial exploitation of the Manitoba government, from the Manitoba government and the federal government, because um family issues are under federal jurisdiction, right? So it is financial exploitation also from the government of Canada, from my understanding. Now, if a Canadian citizen, or a Manitoba citizen, um, is issued such an order, and now the majority of their paycheck is taken away by maintenance enforcement, they can't afford a lawyer. But now they're also making too much to be eligible for legal aid, which forces them into a situation where they aren't entitled to legal counsel. So that that portion of Canadian citizens' rights under section 15.1 and 15.2 of the Charter of Rights and Freedom, protected by the Canadian Constitution, is not being adhered to. There is a certain population whose rights are continuously being violated, being ignored, being exploited, being oppressed. This is all happening right here in Canada, right in Manitoba. We'll talk more about that in the next few videos. I am going to be going through the whole thing with the property. I will be talking about how I put in an order for Justice Peterson to recuse herself. Now, it's interesting because three judges who have touched this file, um, prior to it going to trial, well, actually, from the time, sorry, I should say that I'm saying this wrong. From the time it hit the court system initially to the time of trial, the three judges that touched this file have been dismissed by the Manitoba King of Courts bench, or at least are no longer in the family department. I don't know if they're actually still working in Manitoba or not. I really haven't looked that far, but it's interesting. Chief Justice Joel is no longer chief, from my understanding, looking at the judges roster. Justice Peterson, I don't think is there either. And Justice Thompson, I don't think is there either. So obviously something I am saying to people is starting to make some sort of impact with the Manitoba government or the Canadian government or whoever. But my question is, if they're starting to see that, if they're starting to understand where I'm coming from and the trauma that that these judges have inflicted on me, then why isn't something being done to try and remedy the situation? Anyways, um, I will continue on with this, I guess, later on today or tomorrow. Um, For right now, I'm waiting to hear back from a few people, and I'm hoping to hear back from them today in regards to the house. Um, I just want to emphasize how the City of Winnipeg, by issuing such an order through the Land Titles Office and issuing the exercise of sale document that no court has actually ordered, um, is circumventing the legal system. They are basically saying that they are the supreme power over the King of Court's bench, over the Canadian government, and that is kind of concerning. Anyways, that's it for now. Have a good day, everyone.